a standstill because everyone's yard, we found out, can't take an ADU. And so the staff has been meeting and everything, we've been doubling down. The city manager is pushing to make it an easier process through permitting, through new software, so everyone can get through it, so you're not having to wait for someone. Changing regulation. When you wanted to improve your house, if you hit a threshold of 30,000, you had to put a sidewalk. That's been pushed up, so that won't be a problem anymore. As we have density bonus by the state, working with developers, yes, there's going to be more housing. We're built out, but there's going to be more housing, but there's no reason that we shouldn't work with developers, because the little Flower Haven could have been a 7-story building. It could have had 0 parking, but we worked with the developer to maintain the architectural integrity of that, so it still looks like the little Flower Haven. So I think it's important, as housing comes in, and there will be more housing, that we work to not lose the charm of our city. In addition, it's important that we know that we have a project at 8181 Allison. It's 100% affordable on a trolley line. And when we say affordable, I don't want people to be worried to think that it's low income, that it's people throw the term Section 8 around. That's not what it is. Affordable for a teacher is where I would be living if I didn't have my own residence right now. So everything has changed, but finding places in a built-out city to build is what we need to do.
Thank you. I have a very unique perspective on this. My father is a real estate developer. We have built hundreds of houses across the county. We have a project that my daughter has graduated from high school, graduated from college, and is fully employed in the city of La Mesa for 32 detached condos, including affordable houses. It is sitting and mired in red tape. And I cannot emphasize that the problem with building homes in California is purely regulatory. It is 100% regulatory. We have done the best. Colin Parent and I's ADU ordinance, trying to make it a little bit better than the state ordinance, but it's not working. It is not going to work until we have new software at the city. It actually slows it down worse, because one department puts in its comments, but you can't respond to them until the next department does. So we're sitting there waiting to provide housing, and we can't because of regulation. We need to fully clean house, make it easier, and we need some design guidelines in this city, so you don't have huge projects that are incongruous with neighborhood character. As mayor, I will make sure that happens. I will make sure that our specific plans are updated for downtown and other places. And I will make sure that our staff processes projects in a timely manner. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. And this issue keeps coming up because we have a problem. And the problem is that our community is growing. So it's actually not a problem. What we have is folks that want to live here and continue to have their families here. And we want to keep those folks to have their families and grow their community right here in La Mesa. People like me, working families, need to be able to have affordable homes. And for us to be able to increase lower to very low affordable housing means people like myself, people making a median income of $65,000 a year, or families that are making an AMI of 80%, which is what, $80,000, just above $80,000 a year for a family of 4, which is really difficult right now. These are folks in our community. These are people that are living in our working in our community, and we need to be able to provide that. So by increasing the amount of lower to and affordable housing will help our communities stay here in La Mesa. We don't want people to be turned away. We don't see this as a problem. We take pride in La Mesa, and we want more people to live here. But we need to be able to work within the bounds of our federal and our state laws. And that's what will happen when we work together collaboratively, not antagonistically, against the government that is supporting the work that we are doing. Affordable housing and these subsidies are provided by the government. That's why these developers are able to do this work. So thank you, and please vote for me.
Thank you so much. as everyone else has said, this is, I'm not a fan of massive buildings. I'm really not. I think we need more affordable housing for sure. Like Christine, myself, I come from a construction background. My dad's been a general contractor here in East County for 50 years. He's here right now. My dad's 81 years old, still building ADUs on Mount Helix, like right now, yes. But what I've seen is in absence of having to build massive, buildings with hundreds of units, I think as we've talked about, if we speed up the permitting process, it doesn't take 18 to 24 months to get an ADU built. Everyone who my dad has built an ADU for in the last couple of years is using that as a rental property for family or for someone else to provide affordable housing. But holding the permit process up for 18 to 24 months, back in the day they were called granny flats, right? Okay, so we want to get a permit before granny dies and is able to occupy the granny flats. So that's going to be a huge deal. So for us moving forward, I think it's super important that we take advantage of what we have. I know what Dr. A said. There are some places that are limited by the property and the space in the yard, but I've been to Laura's property. She has plenty of space, but it's held up with the permitting process. So I think we can do whatever we can to expand, preserve the community that we have. I found this out yesterday. This is a really cool story. That La Mesa was a carriage ride in the late 1800s, the early 1900s, from downtown. That it was an escape from downtown living. And that was why it was the jewel of the hills. So to know that, we want to preserve that by not having massive buildings, but providing affordable housing through ADUs and other opportunities. Thank you.
I invite our third questioner to come up. I noticed our time, which we're way ahead of time. So after this third question, and we go through the candidates, I won't talk. I'll give you 5 minutes to stand up and stretch. Does that sound like a good plan? And then we can move on with the next two questions and we'll conclude. So thank you, Bonnie.
Good evening. I'm asking about business development. Okay, so in this post-pandemic period, we see some new businesses. We also see empty spaces and know how important business is for the health of our city's success and financial well-being. As a city council member, you will have to decide on the types of businesses that benefit La Mesa, including land use, building placement, and zoning restrictions. Health and safety concerns, especially for our children, have arisen with neighborhood placement of marijuana dispensaries and the products they sell. When voters passed Measure U, approving the sale of medical marijuana, the city council added recreational use without voter approval. This created significant safety and health issues for our neighborhoods and our children. Additionally, other city councils are eliminating the sale of flavored tobacco and increasing oversight of guns and ammunition. So our question is, if you are elected or re-elected to the city council, what will determine your priorities in the decision-making process on controversial businesses that involve zoning, land use, and the quality of life that businesses represent in the community?
Thank you for that question, Bonnie. You did bring up cannabis, and I know that we shut the door on permits for cannabis. I believe we have about 12 that are open right now, and we don't know if the other permitting will take place, but there isn't anyone else that can come to La Mesa for cannabis. But I did notice, since you brought it up, that cannabis has very strict guidelines and laws on how to sell recreational and medicinal cannabis. And I compare that to the local liquor store where a young person underage can go in and use fake ID and possibly buy cigarettes or alcohol, or get someone in the parking lot to do it for them. So it is a challenge with some businesses that may be controversial, but I would like to see more of an educational process to the public in regards to some of those businesses. I understand we can't have people who do the ink tattoos in the city. But nevertheless, I think that education to our public is a better way to go when it comes to businesses, because we need to support businesses. They are what brings the dollars to our city so that we can do more. Thank you.
Thank you. It's regarding the sale of tobacco. There's a systematic problem with selling to minors, and it happens everywhere throughout the county, and it's not being regulated. So recently formed a subcommittee, we just met today, about trying to create an ordinance that's going to make it, there's going to be a penalty if you do sell to minors, that you may lose your business as opposed to just getting a slap on the wrist or some type of citation. So as far as businesses that are doing the wrong thing, that are harming, that we need to, unfortunately, it'd be the last resort, but that business can't be here anymore. As far as trying to get other businesses here, we need business to come here. And so we have a LEAP program. We have a grant program for $20,000 to have new businesses. And the city council doesn't get to decide what business, because I hear all the time, you know, we have too many real estate, no offense, and attorneys and other things, not Mrs. Lothian, but other places, and we don't get to decide that. But we can try to encourage businesses, and we, you know, listen to the residents and try to go out and encourage business by doing that. We also have a business improvement grant that you can improve your business, but regulation can only go so far as trying to regulate those businesses that are breaking the law. And so tobacco is the number one right now, and they are selling to minors, and that is something that we're going to have to create an ordinance, and if you continue to do it, you're going to lose your business. Thank you.
Thank you. To the recreational plus and medicinal marijuana, the city council reacted after the state of California passed the recreational marijuana. So the city didn't decide to do it unilaterally. After the voters passed recreational, then the state, medicinal, and the state passed recreational. Right now, that is the law. We, Dr. Abe, me, Laura, Tony, Megan, Patricia, we cannot change the law. We don't have the ability to change what the voters have enacted, and we need to understand that. And it is, I agree with Patricia that when you go into one of the dispensaries, it's very strict. Because I was like, okay, this is legal now, I'm going to walk into one and see what it's about. It's very strict, it's very regulated, and we do need to educate people. My personal feelings on whether marijuana is good, bad, or anything like that don't really matter, because the law is the law. And as far as promoting other businesses, we need to get out there, sell our city, and as mayor, I will go introducing myself to every person who wants to start a business, every person who applies for a grant, and I will walk them through the process. I've been a small businessman. I own a small business, Quarry Self-Storage in Spring Valley. I know what it takes, and I would be more than willing to help anyone who wants to start a small business here in La Mesa.
Thank you for that question, Bonnie. I want to applaud our mayor, Dr. A, and our city council members for creating the LEAP program that helps support the introduction of new businesses with $20,000 grants, and that's wonderful. I also want to applaud our mayor as well as our city council members for making sure to subsidize the support that current businesses need and changing the facade as well as improving our community businesses that exist right now in La Mesa, not just in the La Mesa Village, but all across La Mesa. And it's very important that we support business. But as you know, I agree with Patricia when she says, you know, we need to educate our community when there's a new ordinance or there's a new policy that's in place, just like when alcohol or when after prohibition, just like when we have tobacco introduced to our communities, there needs to be education for how we implement these policies in our community. And that education has to be on us to engage with our young people and to become more civically engaged with all of the community from all walks of life, not just certain segments of the community. So it's critical for us to be able to engage with youth and educational processes, to engage them in the civic process and learning what is good and what is bad, what is healthy, and what are their options. But as many people already know, the voters of La Mesa have spoken, and I am here to applaud what we have done to be able to bring more monies into our city to support the growth and the infrastructure of our city and making sure we expand services that are available.
Since 2016, we've seen quite a few of the cannabis shops pop up. There's a Walgreens by my house. a year ago pop up. I thought we were getting a drugstore. I thought it was Walgreens. It was Walgreens. But the reality is that what is the city government's responsibility? Is to promote, to facilitate, and do whatever we can to help small businesses thrive. And we're on the heels of COVID right now, right? We've seen small businesses absolutely demolished. Some have shut down, some have struggled to even just survive. We should be bending over backwards as a city to do what we can to promote. Talking about business development, we should do whatever we can to make La Mesa a destination for businesses to come here and want to be here. You know, if you were here 25 years ago, you remember, Pastor Christian, that down Main Street here, right on La Mesa Boulevard, it was 25 antique shops. Well, and I loved it, right? But guess what it is now? It's craft restaurants, it's coffee shops, it's other little boutique stores. And you know what? I love that too. La Mesa has morphed and transformed into something that promotes small business. There's a crowd on Friday nights. You were here for Oktoberfest, some of you, but even on just a regular Friday night, there's action, there's stuff going on because we promote that. We also have to do whatever we can to facilitate businesses to survive. Laura told me a while back, Sheldon's coffee shop, they were trying to get an awning, a simple, this goes back to the last question about parks, about permits. And they were trying to get an awning. It took them months to get an awning. It was a simple awning that was providing shade for their customers. So the goal is measured, obviously, reasonable, balanced development, and really back to the homeless issue, not to bring back question number one, but we have to help the homeless issue because businesses won't thrive if homeless are parked on their doorstep each and every day. Thank you.
I've always been very sensitive to the kind of businesses that come to La Mesa. I remember fighting the 7-Elevens that were coming to La Mesa. There was one on University Avenue that generated so much trash on the street you could see it from space. And so I remember in 2010 pleading as a citizen to the La Mesa City Council, please stop with all the 7-Elevens. Measure U, flawed, but it's too late. We have our dozen cannabis shops. I know we're called Cannabis Central and all that, but we fought it. Dr. A, Councilmember Shu and I fought having Urban Leaf open next door to Cookies, but their lawyers figured out a way to make 1,000 foot between the two businesses. What I've just done recently is, again, La Mesa is infamous for being very hard on permits and regulations. So the permit activity report, the blueprint that's coming out that's going to expedite it and improve customer service, that is all happening now and continuing to happen. But what I really love is that I worked for over 6 months to get $500,000 in ARPA funds to La Mesa small businesses, and it's called the Commercial Facade Improvement Program. Our businesses, the ones that have faded paint, broken windows, tattered awnings, they're going to get $5,000. They can apply for $5,000 in ARPA funds without having to pay it back, and then anything after that up to $25,000 is 50-50. I have a list this long of businesses that are crying with relief because they don't have any spare money after the COVID shutdowns.
I said 5, but maybe 3. If you want to just stand up and stretch for 3 minutes, I also know they